This video is going to walk through how to upgrade the speed controller on the Big Toys Green Country Giant Ride-On 24 volt. So we're going to upgrade this to 48 volt. I hold no responsibility over anything that anybody does to their ride-ons. This mod requires a lot of electrical experience with wiring and low voltage systems in general. So this is the original speed controller that was in this thing, and we'll show you how to go through the upgrade and upgrade it to 48 volt. It more than doubled the speed, and the performance is pretty impressive. Here are the parts required for this project. So the batteries and the charger are in the upper left. You can see that the batteries, you need 4 of these batteries, each one at 12 volt in series to make the 48 volt. And then the charger that I chose is up above. You can see it's got the computer style plug. So the wiring to the right is what I used. I used the female version side of that plug and installed it inside the car for the charge receiver. And then I cut off the male end and wired that up front to the batteries, as you'll see in the video. Down in the lower left corner, you can see the new speed controller that I chose, available on Amazon. All these parts are available on Amazon. And then in the lower right is the voltage converter that steps it down from 48 to 24. And that's for all the existing instrumentation that's on the car, so we can reuse all that, the radio, the lighting, etc. Connection diagram, wiring diagram for that converter is shown in the lower right. So here is what the underside of the car looks like, and what I did is I'm kind of tracing all the wires up to under the hood. So this is the brake switch right here. So when the brake pedal's pushed, this plunger gets pulled up and it's just a dry contact. So the contact is made when the brake gets pulled. So we'll keep that in mind when we wire the controller. I extended the wire here so I can get it up front. So I just made a splice connection there. I chose a black wire just so we can easily identify it under the hood. If you look back here, try to get a good angle of this, you can see all the wiring here. So the top one is the key switch. So we're going to look for what's coming out of the bottom of the key switch, which is yellow and red for the key switch under the hood. This one over here on the left with the blue and the black wire, that's going to be your speed control. So we're going to use that too. Over here to the right is ignored. That's just for the lights, for the headlights. Green and the black wire is a switch I added. Just ignore that one. And then finally, down on the bottom here is the shifter control. So we've got black in the center and a brown on the bottom, green on the top. So here's what we look like under the hood when the old speed control is removed. There are some wiring harnesses that come with the new speed controller. One of them is for the hall controller. You can see those are the smallest wires here. They come up into this compartment. They were directly plugged into the old controller, and the original controller plug matches the new controller plug for the hall, which is great. So just plug that one in, get it out of the way, get it to the side. That'll be one of the plugs for the new controller. The second wires are for the motor. You can see they're blue, green, and yellow here, and they come in on this triple cable, and those are going to go directly to the screw terminals on the new controller for the motor. And then on the other side of the new controller, you're going to have you can see the blue, green, and yellow. They'll actually match those wire colors perfectly for the motor. And then on the other side of the controller, you can see the positive and the negative for the battery. That'll be the new 48 volt going to that controller. So the hall will plug in all the way to the left, where you can see that connector on the new controller that we already have plugged in right here. So get that one out of the way. This plug right here went to the old controller. we're gonna use these wires. The green and the brown came from the shifter, and the blue comes from the speed button inside the cabin. The orange, we'll figure that out. I'm not sure what that's for yet. And then down here, I already cut this connector from the original controller here. That's your positive and your negative 24 volt. So that's for all of your instrumentation inside the cabin. The motor sound when the car starts and all that. So you can see when we connect the positive and the negative to this, try to do this with one hand while I'm holding my phone. When you connect the positive and negative, you can actually hear the car turn on. And this is a 24 volt test battery I'm using. So we want to make sure that that yellow and black gets 24 volt from the new setup and not 48, or else you can burn out your instrumentation. So that's what that step down transformer is for. Before I cut these connectors, I just tape the two wires together, just to kind of keep track of them. That way they stay as a bundle. So I suggest you tape them before you cut the original connectors off. Leave a little wire from the original connector in case you want to go back to your stock setup. That way you can always splice these connections back together. You can see how on this other connector I left a little bit of wire so I can see what color goes to what side. There's that connector after the cut. These wires that come up in this shared heat shrink right here, you got two reds and a black. They're not going to be used. They're for the old 24 volt system feed wires. So we'll go ahead and tape those off, and we can get those to the side eventually. But those three wires right there, tape them off. We're not going to use them. So I added a wire to the black on the forward reverse switch underneath the car. So I spliced in a white wire to that black, and then on the upper speed switch, which is the blue and the black wire down there, I spliced in the blue wire here to the black. So we'll run those up to the hood. So here's the white wire that went to the shifter center negative, and here's the green wire from the shifter. The green wire is for reverse. So I have the white wire and the green wire connected to my multimeter, and when we go into reverse, set your dry contact for reverse. So white to green for reverse on the controller. The brown wire will not be used from the shifter. So everything's taped off. I got the blue and the blue wire that came from the high-low speed button. This button right here comes a dry contact, the two blue wires, the new blue wire I ran and the original. And then here's your reverse gear dry contact, the white and the green. Green original wire, white is the new wire I ran, and the brown and the orange are not going to be used in this project anymore, so we'll just go ahead and tape those off and get them out of the way. So I'm going to use the same charger for this 48 volt go-kart, and it's got this computer plug. So I'm going to use the same style plug on the blue car. So I got to find positive and negative so we can match the go-kart to that. So I took an old computer cord, cut it apart. There's my positive 51 volts from this battery pack. So I marked that plug black. So you can see that's the negative. So I cut a hole here with my multi-tool. I bought this cord off of Amazon that's in the description. I cut this end of it off. The other end is in the motor compartment up front, battery compartment, and we're going to find out what's positive and negative on this. So I'll plug the same test cord in with the black on my plug. So I've got black there, and then this is the other end of that plug right here, this wire coming out. So I've got a brown and a blue wire to trace. So checking for continuity, the brown wire is going to be negative for the charger. It's going to connect to the negative on the battery, and then the blue wire is going to be positive. Green and yellow wire won't be used. We'll cut that off. Tape the brown wire black so it reminds me it's negative, blue is positive, yellow wire cut back. So the last thing we need to do is wire up the key switch. So key switch is the yellow and the red wire. So we've got to tie in to the red wire. We'll splice that, get a red up front, and we'll use the yellow. So earlier I said that this original wire that was connected to the original speed controller was not going to be used, but I'm going to use this for the plus 12 for the instrumentations. I'm sorry, the plus 24 for the instrumentation. And then this negative will be the black wire that was originally connected to that plug with the yellow and black connector, the original plug in the speed controller. So we're going to use that for the negative 24 ground, and then this is going to be the positive 24 constant to the instrumentation out of that voltage converter that's part of this kit. So here's your positive and negative 24 volt. That'll be for the instrumentation, and this is your switch for your key. It includes the new red wire that I ran, that I spliced into the black, and then the original yellow wire. With the new speed controller kit, there were some additional connectors. We're going to use this one right here that has the orange wire. It's going to replace this that came with the loop. That's going to be for your switched power. So that's what it's going to look like plugged into this wiring harness. First connection we've made to it. The orange is going to connect to that yellow on the key switch. And later we'll tie the red into the plus 48. That's going to give power to this as the switch is turned for the key. It'll send power through here back to the speed controller to turn it on. So here's the step down transformer from 48 to 24. This is the positive and the negative for the 24. Positive is yellow, negative is blue out of the converter. This is the positive 48. We're going to tie that into the switched contact. So the yellow wire from the original wiring, that'll get the positive from the red wire that goes through the switch, and then the black we'll do here in a little bit. I've got the positive battery cable started too with the ring terminal. This is the throttle handle on the new speed controller, and this is from the gas pedal on the original car. So those fit together. They're compatible. Plug those two together. So those are the only two compatible plugs, the throttle and the original hall sensor. Next, find the blue connector on the new speed controller. We're going to tie the pink and the black into the two blue wires for the speed that come from the car. The white wire needs to be spliced with the black. It's the learn wire, so be sure it stays spliced with the black when you do your connections. The gray wire won't be used, so you can just tape it off. The gray wire is just for the low speed, so you can use it if you want. I'm going to use the high speed on my application. So this gray connector is for the reverse gear. Had a blue wire coming out of it, a single blue wire. So take that blue wire and connect it to the green wire that originally came from the shifter. And then the white wire that's the other side of the shifter is going to go to the negative from the battery. Here's the final negative connections. The white wire from the switch goes to the negative, and again the blue goes to the reverse green wire. And then to the speed controller, I've got the positive and the negative main battery lines hooked up. I've got the 3 poles of the motor hooked up. I've got the Hall connector plugged in. I'm just getting ready to plug in the rest of the connectors now, and then we'll get the batteries set and test. Okay, here's the finished product. Got everything wired up. Got the battery hooked up. I've got a 30 amp blade fuse in there for the positive on the battery. So everything should be good. Okay. So the first time you fire this thing up with the batteries installed, you have to learn the controller to the motor. So these two white wires get plugged together and they are labeled intelligent recognition. So you need to plug those together. You need to jack the back of the car up, just get tires a couple inches off the ground and observe the direction the tires are turning. They should be turning forward. Mine turned reverse when I first plugged those in. So if they turn in reverse, you have to unplug those white wires and plug them back in until they turn forward. Leave them plugged in for about 2 minutes and let the controller go through its learning process, and then you can unplug them and the car should be good to go.